All right, now we have made quite a few very important decisions, and all of them are going to be working together as you're launching or relaunching your social media project. But nothing beats real life testing. Obviously, all of these decisions that you've made for yourself are based on assumptions. And now, once you're launching your social media project, you will know how the audience reacts to this and what it's like to actually attempt to make money and maybe make a little bit of money in the first couple of months. I would give it 2 to 3 months. 3 months stops, because after that you will probably know if you're going in the right direction or you're hitting the wall or things are not working out the way you thought. And at that point, you probably don't want to waste your time. You want to adjust. You want to maybe pick different sources of income if you're realizing that you picked the wrong ones. Maybe even occupy a different hyper niche. And at the same time, it's perfectly fine if you want to go all the way to square one and restart the whole project. Not everybody gets everything right in the first time. As a matter of fact, that would be pretty damn good if you got everything right from the very first time. That's why it's extremely important to go all of this and prepare yourself and prepare your social media project for launch, so you don't have to face errors and mistakes that you didn't even know might have existed until you literally got hit with it in the face. It's really, really, really important to prepare for it, but you can't prepare for everything. So that's why it's important to test the waters. How do we test the waters? Okay, well, there are a few different ways. First of all, if you're offering your own products or services, or you're working with a new business, it's always good to have pre-orders or crowdfunding, Kickstarter campaigns where you don't really have the product just yet or a service, but you can launch a page which you will use to advertise and tell your viewers or your listeners, your readers about the product or the service, and then they can either sign up for the updates, and especially when you actually launch that product or service. And I would suggest giving them some discount for being a very patient and first customers. Or you can actually take pre-orders, sometimes down payment, sometimes the full payment. So when you do launch the product or service, you already have a few customers who are willing to give you a shot and pay their money up front. Now, you might want to check with the local laws depending which state and country you're in. Sometimes it's not legal to take money for something that doesn't exist, so please check with that. But obviously, if you just want to collect information, the contact information from your future clients, and essentially they will be buying a reservation without putting any money down, that is definitely a great idea. And again, if you're working with a brand, I would encourage you to encourage them to do the same. It could be just for your viewers, or it could be something that they're doing for everybody, and you just one of the sources of those pre-sales that are being driven to that brand and product or service. Now, another way to train, if you will, your audience is to have an early sponsor. Now, your early sponsor is not very likely you're going to be paying your money, and if they are, it's going to be very little. Most likely, they will be offering their products or services to you for free, so you can try them out, and in return, you will start advertising them. There are two essential needs for that. One is you want to train your audience, just like I mentioned. So from the very beginning, they know, okay, if I'm watching this YouTube channel, if I'm reading this blog, if I'm listening to this podcaster, there will be time where I will have to be listening or being exposed to a product and service, hopefully something that your audience is interested in. It's pretty important to, as a matter of fact, because otherwise, if they're not interested in your sponsors, they're probably not going to buy anything from them. So that kind of has to go hand in hand. So in some ways, it would be a service to them. But at the same time, you also want to get some feedback from your early sponsor. Not only how the sales are going, or if there's a good reaction to it, if there's a good traffic to a website or whatever it is that they're promoting, but also you want to test the waters, what it's like to be working with a sponsor. Just like I said, every sponsor, every brand has their own agenda, and sometimes you butt heads, sometimes you have to figure things out and make it work for both of you. So that's another great experience for you to understand, okay, this is the type of the relationship I want to have with my sponsor, and this is the type of relationship I don't want to have with my sponsor. All of these kinks could be worked out from the very beginning before you actually rely on that income and before you even make a serious income. So The way to test the water is to get a early sponsor. In my case, I got a sponsor that wasn't paying me anything at all, just in products, and my audience was like, all right, we know that there will be a logo, there will be a 20 or 30 seconds shout out, and that way your audience won't get upset when one day you implement that. Then they'll be like, wait a second, what is this? We're not used to this. And a lot of audiences just get up and leave, as unfortunate as might be, when they all of a sudden presented with something commercial. But if from the very beginning, the very first video, the very first podcast that they've listened to, they know that this is happening, then they either sign up for it or they don't. And once they sign up for it, there will never be really a change for them in terms of, hey, this channel promotes brands and I either have to put up with it or I actually like it. If you promote the brands that are of interest to your audience, obviously that's almost really not of a promotion. That's more of a service to your customers, to your viewers as well. Now, online communities, joining or creating online communities is very important because essentially you're getting access to your future audience somewhere else. And there are different places. For example, Meetup. Meetup.com is where you physically meet with like-minded people, and they have everything. People who want to write books together, people who, for singles, but there are also meetups for something that probably is in your niche. And if there is no meetup for that, then you create one. Now, of course, this is something that you're going to have to only do locally. You only going to have access to your local community, but nevertheless, meeting your potential viewers is in person. That's extremely important. Now, in my example, before I put together this course right here, I actually joined a few local meetups. Here's me speaking in front of one because I wanted to make sure that whatever materials that I'm going to be putting together for this course is, one, well received, but secondly, I wanted to get some actual feedback from real entrepreneurs saying, yes, this really helped, or I did this and it didn't work, or I didn't understand that point. So before I put together this course, I actually did it a few times in front of a live audience at a couple of local meetups, and that way I was able to kind of get a understanding. Do people want this content? And if so, how they want to consume it, what's important to them, so you can do the same thing with your local community. Nothing like interaction with people in person. Now, don't forget, you can also do it with sponsors as well. If your sponsors are going to be, let's say, local ice cream shops, and they have a local meetup for local businesses, which probably will include some ice cream shops, then it's also important to join those communities on the other side. You want to get to know potential businesses, potential sponsors, what they're looking for, what their experiences have been with social media influencers. So that is important to understand as well. Of course, we'll keep coming back to Facebook groups and Facebook events. You can create a Facebook event. I personally prefer that. I almost sometimes demand that somebody who's telling me about the event has a Facebook event page because it's easier to share. It's got an address, an RSVP list. It's probably one of the best ways to advertise event online. You can also, of course, pay money to Facebook to boost your reach of your event. And this is, once again, one of many ways how you can test your idea to create an event. It could be a sales event. It could be an event for you to test your service, which could be a seminar. And at the same time, don't forget, of course, there are Facebook groups that already exist, or Facebook groups that you can create on your own, and therefore you're creating your own community on Facebook and seeing if some of them want to actually go and join you on YouTube or Instagram and so forth. Sometimes it's a tough sell, but nevertheless, having a community on Facebook really helps. Now, joining someone else's community, the existing community, of course, really, really important, because you just kind of dive right into your potential viewer or listener or reader audience. And as you interact with them, don't spam. Like, one thing is, please don't spam. But as you interact with them, you become a community leader, maybe in one or two groups. You start to understand what it is that your potential audience wants. What do they react well to, and what they're really not reacting well to. This is the community to ask questions. This is the community to listen. And that way, you can also shape the format and the content for your social media project just based on that. So you're using someone else's community as a sort of a guinea pig almost for what your community is going to be like. And also you get to pick and choose as well. You might say, you know what, I don't like this way, the way this community is. There's too many people who are fighting. There's the topics that are controversial, essentially causing too many problems. I'm going to stay away from this type of content or this type of community. But on another hand, you might say, "Oh my God, I did not think that this community is so tight. I did not think that people make actual friends in this community. This is what I want to create, and this is the kind of a model of what I want my audience to be, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to try to recreate it on whatever social media platform that I'm creating my social media project on, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, and so forth." So once again, testing the waters is extremely important because it kind of saves you time in terms of whether or not it gives you a glimpse of what you're going to be dealing with in the future, and it also gives you an important opportunity to correct the course or roll your project all the way back and maybe even having to start from scratch. But again, please don't think that it's a waste of time. It's also only a waste of time if you do this and you get discouraged and just quit. That's most likely going to be a waste of time. So please be very patient, and please know that there is a good chance that you might have to restart or adjust or change things around. This is just a way to how a good businessman or businesswoman just is. We adjust to what's being thrown at us. We create a product. We look for the audience, and things that go wrong, we have to adjust. We have to change things around based on what we're getting as a feedback. You will get a lot of feedback, not just by reading the comments and seeing how many views your videos or posts get. For example, in case of YouTube, or if you use Google Analytics on your blog, you can get a lot of statistics on, how long is your video being watched on average? What is the audience that you've created? Which is pretty important because sometimes you think that it's going to appeal to one group of people and a completely different group of people shows up and you go like, whoa, I did not think so. So therefore, let me maybe make some adjustments, and because my community is not what I thought it would be. But hey, I will welcome that community as well. If these are my people, these are my people. I'm going to try to adjust and create the content, or maybe change the format, or maybe pick different sponsors for this particular community that did show up to watch my videos on or listen to my podcast. So make sure to save some time to test the waters, to make some adjustments, and please don't get discouraged. This is the exciting part. This is the part where you kind of figuring out how to walk, how to talk, and I know it will be frustrating in some ways, but it also will be exciting because after all, it's not a destination, it's the journey. A lot of times, people say, and I kind of think it's both, especially when it comes to social media. You want to get to the full-time income, obviously, but at the same time, you want to enjoy this. This is not supposed to be a job. This is supposed to be a hobby that just happens to pay you. Now, of course, I'm staying away from saying run this as a hobby, but this definitely should be something that you absolutely will enjoy, especially if you're going to be doing this full time for the rest of your life, hopefully. So make sure that you enjoy the process, and the frustrations that it may bring, take it with a grain of salt, and make sure you are being patient. So don't forget to test the waters.